Most uncomfortable I've probably ever been in my life. Super nervous, super scared, but I'm also super competitive, coming from sports. So I knew my goal was to be the top rookie in Canada. With Vivint, they had about 400 people at the time. I dialed in, I put my whole heart into it. I'd be lying to you if I tell you I didn't want to quit a few times for sure.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the D2D Podcast. We're back with another really cool guest. For those of you who've been listening, religiously to our podcast, you know that the last few have been really astound figures in the industry that are going to be participating in our upcoming event, D2DCon Canada. And I'm proud to say that Jason Staiger is one of those individuals. He'll be on our leadership panel, and it's something you're not going to want to miss, as Jason has been in the industry for a while and is currently running or playing a big part in running legacy marketing up in Canada. So real quick before I bring him on, just so you guys are aware that this guy is the real deal, here's a little bit about Jason. Jason is one of Canadians' leading direct-to-consumer sales leaders. As managing partner of legacy marketing, he's helped build the top D2D sales force in the country, spanning two industries, pest control and smart home security, with over 150 active reps across Western Canada. In just 5 years, Legacy has produced 5 Golden Door Award winners across both verticals, a feat unmatched in Canadian door-to-door history. Under Jason's leadership, the company has scaled through a relentless focus on culture, recruiting, and leadership systems that turn reps into leaders and leaders into partners. Jason leads with a people-first approach, believing that culture drives performance, and when you bet on people, everything else follows. His mission is simple: empower people to become leaders, elevate leaders into owners, and build teams that leave a legacy in the Canadian door-to-door space. So guys, without further ado, welcome Jason Staiger. Jason, happy to have you on, man. How you doing today?
Doing well. I appreciate the introduction. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you, and we're excited for your participation in D2DCon Canada. So you're going to be on one of our leadership panels. For those of you who don't know what that means, it'll be Jason and a few other leaders in the Canadian door-to-door space, just kind of sharing how to become a top leader, what they've done to see success, empower their people, and grow to the level of leaders that they currently are. So I think you're going to be a great addition, dude. It's exciting.
No, I appreciate that. No, it's exciting that you guys are bringing this to Canada too. I think it's long overdue.
Right? Right? It's so funny. I didn't know Canada had such a firing door-to-door market. And I've been in the space for a decade. I had no clue until a few months ago. I was like, oh, wow, okay. It makes sense. You know what I mean? But we live in this little bubble in the USA, right? We're like, oh, our companies, our culture, whatever. And it's been cool for me to kind of expand that and see such killers up north. And even in other parts of the world, we have Australian dudes coming in, telling us about their organizations. And I was like, who knew? So hats off to you guys up there. So where are you at in Canada right now?
Right now I'm in Kamloops, British Columbia. So I'm on towards the west coast.
Towards the west coast. Okay. So that's pretty far from where we're going to have in Calgary, right?
It's like a 6-hour drive. It's not horrible.
Okay. Not horrible, but still got to load up on snacks, maybe a gas stop as well. I love it. All right. Give us a little rundown, Jason. Who are you? Where are you from? And I'm really curious. I love personally, this is a selfish question of mine. It's just fun. I love to hear the story as to how you got into door-to-door from whatever it is you're doing. And then, just give us a rundown on your career, where you started, what it looked like, and just build us up to where you're at now.
Yeah, totally. So I'm 30 years old now. So I've been in the door-to-door space for 8 years. If I would have to go back all the way, I would say you'd have to go back to where I kind of grew up, which is in Agassiz, British Columbia. No one's ever heard of this place. It's like a 7,000 person little town.
Okay.
I grew up German household, always playing soccer actually. And
there we go.
I kind of thought that was my path growing up. I always played the highest level in British Columbia. And originally I actually went to Kamloops out here to the university, TRU, not for business school or anything like that. I came out here because I got recruited onto the soccer team. So
no way.
Yeah. I kind of, that was my path, right? I thought I was going to go pro. It was all I really focused on. And I would say about a year into playing uni, I realized I'm not going pro. Like there were
Really?
some really high level players just in this small school in Kamloops. And
Kamloops. I do know where that is. One of my favorite professional motocross riders is from, he's from Scotland, but lived in Canada, and he used to ride at Kamloops all the time.
Okay.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, keep going.
So yeah, I was in school playing on the university team. Kind of knew I wasn't going anywhere with sports after school, and I was in business school. A little bit lost, I knew I was going to do something in business after university, but I really didn't know what it was. And I come from, both my parents are both serial entrepreneurs as well, so I kind of knew that was my other path that I would take, but I just didn't know what I was going to do. And luckily for me, one of my best friends, my roommate at the time, he went out and did a door-to-door sales job one of the summers, one of my last years. And he actually started with Vivint. So Vivint was up in Canada. And he came back after a summer. He was like my guinea pig. And he had all this money. He knew all these high-level business guys. And, he's just a different person. So he convinced me to join Vivint in 2017-18.
Okay.
And flew out to Regina, Saskatchewan, if you know where that is.
I know, I've heard of Saskatchewan, but not the first name.
Yeah. So Regina, and most uncomfortable I've probably ever been in my life. Super nervous, super scared, but I'm also super competitive. Coming from sports, so I knew like my goal was to be the top rookie in Canada with Vivint. They had about 400 people at the time. So that I dialed in. I put my my whole heart into it, and I'd be lying to you if I tell you I didn't want to quit a few times, for sure.
For sure.
But, finished the year as the top rookie, and
let's go.
I fell in love with sales. I fell in love with the rapid growth, the environment. It's like playing on a sports team. If you're with a good sales company, it feels the exact same to me.
Totally does.
So yeah, and then after my first year, I was drinking the Vivint Kool-Aid. I was all in, and
all orange, baby.
Yeah, that's right. But I could see that the people with true influence in this space were not just salespeople; they were the leaders. So I went out and started recruiting. I went all in on that. I told everyone that moved about this job. And ended up bringing out 18 people my second year. Went out to Kelowna. I don't know if you know where Kelowna is.
Kelowna?
It's close to Kamloops.
No, I don't know.
No, okay, cool. It's a nice spot. But went out to Kelowna, as an assistant manager. And
year two.
Yeah. Wow,
and then that's fire.
Rolling into 2020, I was on pace. We had about 46 guys working with us, and I was going to work for Vivint for the rest of my life. Like there was no end in my head at this point, but 2020 rolled around, COVID hit. Vivint, at first, they tried to go onto an online marketing platform for Canada. And I remember convincing everyone that we're now marketers. We're not door-to-door guys. I was all in. And then they ended up shutting down operations in Canada, and we all ended up losing our jobs. So
darn.
That was tough. That hit me pretty hard, and it hit, I think, a lot of our people pretty hard too, because we were just all in with them.
Totally.
But what it kind of did for us is it forced us to create legacy, because, at that point I said, we're never going to marry an individual brand ever again and kind of, leave all the decisions in their hands. So we were really good at selling. We were good at recruiting and building. So we started Legacy. I got on the phone, started calling a bunch of different companies to try and sell their products and services. And that's when we found Smart Haven at the time, which is a large dealership for TELUS in Canada. And started with them in August 13th of 2020. So missed the whole summer basically. But we grew rapidly. We ended up being their top performing partner in 2020 in those few short months. And then 2021 rolled around, we were blowing up again. We had about 100 guys, and I could see that we were outgrowing the TELUS platform. And I think the difference between Canada and the States is there's not as many companies that do this. There's not, depending on what industry you're in, there's maybe not as much opportunity to scale. And with TELUS, it's a $30 billion company. They're very established.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew we had to look at a different partner to sell for as well. And that's when we started with Aveda. So end of 2021, we set up partnerships with Aveda to sell pest control. We thought we were, the bee's knees at selling. So we said, hey, if you can sell one alarm, you can sell 3 pest control accounts. So I remember we were all going into Aveda thinking we were going to sell 1,000 and got kicked in the teeth when we started at first. It was super hard. Shout out to my business partner, James Fraser. He, I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's first guy to go and hit a golden door in pest control in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He was the reason why we stayed, man. He just has that undying work ethic and drive, and he stuck it out, started to figure it out. And, we've blown up that division. He went out and hit his first golden door last year. And while that was happening, we were also operating inside the TELUS ecosystem. And in that time, we hit 4 golden doors. So another quick shout out to Arjun and Rowan Manhas, the twins. They arguably some of the best alarm salesmen for sure in Canada, but even in the industry. So Arjun's hit 2 golden doors and Rowan's hit 1. And then last year we had a rookie go out and hit a golden door as well with
rookie.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
What's the threshold for alarm golden doors again?
400.
You had a rookie hit 400?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Insane, dude. Props to that kid, man.
Yeah, Daniel. But yeah, that's kind of our story. That's kind of how we expanded into 2 different divisions. Is we were kind of forced to, because we were growing so quickly.
For sure. That's amazing, dude. And there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, congrats on being the top rookie your first summer. That's amazing. I did that as well. And we have a lot of similarities, whereas like sales, like this wasn't like the plan all along. It kind of just by happenstance came about. Like you got intrigued by your roommate who was doing well and around, high level individuals. That was like, Same thing for me. It was like I had a bunch of successful solar dudes move to my hometown that I somehow got to meet. And I was like newly married, broke, farming 7 days a week, just struggling to get by, like just grinding. And these guys are like living well. And so I was like, and then we both jumped and then took it seriously and did well. I really respect that.
Thanks so much for listening to the D2D podcast and being such a loyal listener. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. And we have finally come out with a 2.0 to our D2D University. And we want to give you free access to our community where you can peruse around different micro courses to big pro and apprentice certifications. Whether you're in pest, solar, roofing, alarms, fiber, all these different industries have an amazing refresh of brand new content we spent the last year redoing. Why? Because we believe in leveling up this industry from ethics to mindset to skill sets to all the things that's going to make you an actual pro at doing this door-to-door job that we know is super difficult, but it's the same effort, but greater results with D2D 2.0. Go to our website and get access today.
Also, another thing you just mentioned, the whole, shutdown of the Vivint operations up north, having to pivot. That's actually wild within itself. And it speaks well to your leadership. Even just being, you were probably you were 3-4 years in when that happened?
I was going into my 3rd year.
Going into your 3rd year. So by then you're already like leading teams. You recruited 18 year 2, which is wild. And then soon, I think you said 46 shortly after. But talk to me about that. That had to have been something insanely stressful, but to be able to manage that and also being able to retain your reps to follow you to a startup, you know what I mean? That's huge. That's huge. I was like, whoa, when you said that, because like usually when stuff like that happens, especially to someone that's younger in the industry, you would just see fall off. You'd be like, okay, I tried it with this guy. They're a year in. They're like, oh, this is what's going to happen next. I'm going to go get a 9-to-5, but they stuck around and they helped you build legacy. And now you just have what sounds like killers. But talk to me about that process. Was it stressful? How were you able to retain your reps and have them trust you to just jump into the abyss with legacy marketing?
Yeah, I think, well, I'd be lying to you if I told you that everybody retained. There's definitely quite a bit of
sure,
drama.
yeah.
And we did have a good group of individuals that stuck it out. But I would say, I think as a leader, you're never going to feel like you're ready to take that next plunge. I think a lot of people want to feel like they are prepared for it, but you kind of have to fight that imposter syndrome. So I was definitely feeling it, I was definitely stressed out. But I think I genuinely care about other people's experience, like to the bottom of my heart. And I think that makes leadership a lot easier. I'm not just looking out for myself. I genuinely want them to have the best opportunity possible. So
absolutely.
That's kind of why I think we had some level of loyalty is, I really care about our people. I'm really loyal to them. So stressful time for sure. But I think if you are willing to put time in and work and effort, it takes a lot of that stress out. You're kind of just, going through the motions, working hard. So I think that took a little bit of the stress off. And I love this too. I love this game. So it was fun.
It's funny. You mentioned it really early on when you're talking about soccer, but I often say this on our podcast. I'm a broken record, but it is so hilarious to me how every top performer that I know or have interviewed on this podcast have two things in common. One, they either come from an insane competitive sports background, any sports, whether it's individual or team sports, they just have that competitive nature. I got to beat myself. I got to beat them. I got to be better. I got to improve every day. It's like ingrained in their system. That's one. Or they come from a gnarly blue collar family where they worked their ass off from a young age and just have that insane grit-like work ethic. And it sounds like you probably have both, but you have the competitive element in you. And it's just funny for me to point out every top performer has one or two or both of those as their backgrounds. So just side note, I just had to say that because I say it every time I recognize it. But you emphasize like a people first culture, and it's pretty evident in your just how you talk and what you've done in your career. But speak to that a little bit. People first culture. How has that kind of shaped your systems for your leadership and scaling new reps into leaders and into partners?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think naturally, before anyone can, I guess, care about other people's experiences, they have to find some level of success themselves. And it was the same story for me too. I had to go and, crack that 6-figure earning level to realize that, maybe money isn't my core driver. And it gives me a lot more life to help other people go and hit their goals. But I would never know that if I didn't find some level of success myself first.
Totally.
As for systems, I always teach our people that are getting into leadership that if you really want to motivate somebody, you need to know that individual. So a good rule of thumb for me is you should know 3 things that have about that person that have nothing to do with this job. Outside of this job, what are their hobbies, some different aspects of their life. Another thing that is super important to lead and grow people is you need to understand their whys. Why are they doing this job? What's their end goal with coming into this space? And if you know those things, you can wrap this opportunity, including leadership and growth, around what they want. And when they're not performing, you can use those things to push them to that next level, to call them out and hold them accountable. But I think a lot of times people just go money first and they don't actually get to know their people. And you can't really motivate and manage somebody if you don't know what drives that individual, because there's a million different reasons why somebody would come and do this job.
100%. I feel like that's where people or leaders fail when they're trying to grow teams. Is they try to flash the high APR McLaren, they try to bank accounts, good month, and they try to just lure individuals based off of how much money they can make. But so much has to happen prior to those big paychecks that really, not for your 400 account rookie, I guess, but for most people in the industry, like there's steps to this. And if they don't come in, and if they're lured in off of like, this is the coolest thing ever. You're going to make more money than your dad. You're going to make a doctor's salary. You're going to live. And they don't experience that like early on, which they won't, they'll fall off. It's just such a wrong, backwards way to recruit. You have to like give people the realness of what we do and find out, like you said, like what are your real driving factors, because you're going to need those daily out on the doors in this job. It's not going to be some fairy tale land. You're going to just like, people are like, oh, thank goodness, I've been waiting for pest control. Like, no, it's, you know, navigating the negative emotions. It's navigating people who are rude. It's navigating rejection. And it's, you know, getting better at a craft that takes a long time to really master. So I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you.
And they're going to change too, right? Your drivers will change as you grow. So it's important to continuously, you know, learn about your people as they develop as well, I believe.
When you go and you are actively in like recruiting mode, are you looking for a specific type of an individual with certain personality traits, or do you have the belief that anyone can be good at this job as long as they, you know, have a few things, you know what I mean? Like coachability or the ability to, you know, navigate negative emotions or rejection, or are you just like, hey, come work for me? Or are you like, I don't think you're gonna be good at this job?
For me, at least as a team builder, as a recruiter, I genuinely do believe that anyone can do this job. Whether they'll actually execute on it is a totally different story. Mm-hmm. I think if you have a good training platform and you understand how to motivate different people for different reasons, I think anyone could potentially do this job. Whether they actually succeed is a totally different story. So what I personally look for is, first things first, is work ethic. And, you know, I think you have to ask good questions to see how hard of a worker that person is. Yeah. The second thing is coachability. Like, are they able to take constructive criticism and not put up a wall? And part of that is the message that you give the person, but part of that is the individual too. So the last thing I look for is a positive mindset. You know, if you can work hard, you're coachable, and you're a positive individual, I can teach you how to do this. If you don't have one of those three, it's not worth your time to come out here. It's just going to be a nightmare, you know?
Totally. 100%. Like, yeah, if people are just stinking thinkers, negative mindset is like kind of their forte, they just live in that world, dude, no way is it going to work for you. You have to, you know, glass half empty or half full. You got to find the glass half fullers. They have to be able to look at the small wins. If they bagel that day, like, hey, well, I still, you know, stuck to my commitment of being out for 6 hours instead of going home early. So I feel good about myself. I still like got better at this specific objection I've been struggling with. I did notice that I was able to overcome it a little bit easier and better and with, you know, more fluidity. That's a win. And they go home, you know, feeling good, versus the ones that take any sign of negativity and they exacerbate it and run with it. And then they call you upset. Like, those people don't stick around. They have to have a positive mindset. If they have all three of those things, like you mentioned, dude, with good leadership, like that's the thing. People can have all three of those things, but if they aren't given the right tools or structure to achieve them, they also need a fourth, which is like being able to figure out, learn, and self-motivate to be able to do it if they don't have a good leader. So I couldn't agree with you more. And
I actually believe there's no bad teams. You know, there's only bad leaders, right? Yeah. A great leader can take any team and make it successful, I believe.
For sure. So question around that for you. So if you have reps, and I'm sure you do all the time with a team of your size, if you have reps that you know are good reps and they're just feeling stuck, they're in a slump, they're not doing the numbers, or they're not, you know, being the sales rep or performer you know they're capable of, what's like a mindset shift or practice you implement with them to get them out of that?
Well, first things first is I need to know that person. Like, if I don't know that individual, I can't get them out of that slump, because otherwise I'm just shooting from the hip. So I have to know why they're doing this. You know, I have to know them a little bit as an individual, and, you know, I have to know what their goals are, right? If I know those things, then I can work with them. So that'd be the first thing I would do, is try and get to know those things so I can actually help them. Mm-hmm. If they're struggling and they have potential, the first thing I look at is what are your inputs? You know, so we use, I don't know what app other people use, but we use something called Tally Counter to track their inputs based off of their day, how many doors knocked, how many people talked to. And depending on the industry, like with telecom and alarms, the bare minimum is you need to be getting in front of 30 people at least. For pest control, it's 50. So that's the first thing I want to see. So I always say, send me your inputs. I'll take a look at that. You have to be talking to 50 people a day.
Is that a daily practice? They send their inputs daily?
If they're struggling
if they're struggling, right.
Absolutely. And I think it should be a daily practice in general. And a lot of our teams do that. Okay. But if someone's struggling, that's the first thing I look at. The second thing I look at is based off of that, what are you training every day? And you don't need to train for an hour every day. You really only need to be putting in 15 minutes, in my opinion, but it's a consistent action. So there's a difference between training and training like you play and training with purpose. So, I come from sports, so that's always what I think is, you can go through the motions when you're training, or you can train like you're in the game. And if you can pinpoint one thing that you can work on each day and just focus on that and fix it, you're going to be miles ahead when you fast forward a week, a month, if you can keep those habits and those practices. And then the last thing I do is one pitch recording, so send me one pitch recording a day. I'm going to give you something to fix in your process. And I only give one piece of advice each time I hear a pitch recording, because I think it's easy when you get a newer individual or even an experienced person sending you their pitch recording where you're like, oh my gosh, I would change 20 things in this, but it's going to overwhelm them. So yeah, I'm going to change just the first thing I hear that it's like low hanging fruit, get them to fix it. They send me it again the next day. The next thing, if I hear the same thing again, I'm getting them to do that same thing until, I've never had anyone that I do that for a week that doesn't start succeeding, like ever.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. Very practical. It's just like, when you measure performance improves. It's like an easy way to measure their performance. Hey, what are your inputs? Okay, cool. Well, first things first, you're talking to less than half of the required amount for you to actually produce well. Fix that. Secondary, let's go over your pitch. Okay, cool. Here's one suggestion. I love that, by the way, because it's so easy to rip apart a pitch. It's like, here's like 8 things you need to change immediately. It's like, dude, okay, like that's a lot, but like, here's one actionable thing. Just implement that, focus on that, keep it simple, and notice the improvements. It's a great answer. Yeah. Absolutely love that. Random side note question, because I keep forgetting to ask, do you have a Premier League favorite team?
See, I'm more of a Bundesliga fan, but if I was going to go Premier League, it would probably be Manchester City, probably.
Man City? Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to hate me. I like Man U just because I saw them play at Old Trafford 10 years ago. It was quite an experience. And I like Beckham too, so I was just curious.
Honestly, I would barely even say Man City. I'm Bayern Munich all the way.
Gotcha. Okay. Great league. Sorry, I just had to ask. I was like, before I forget, I love it. So going back to that question, is your pest and telecom alarm systems like divisions separate, or are they all integrated?
They're totally separate.
Totally separate.
Yeah, that was a challenge for sure, because they're totally separate, but they still identify with legacy. So we still do some events as a group. That was something we had to learn, especially when we were starting in pest control, how to have them still rub shoulders with each other and not, cross recruit and
totally
confuse each other's growth paths. So
right.
Yeah, they're separate, but they still would identify as legacy for sure.
Okay. How is it managing that? Do you have like, is it literally 2 different companies, different sets of leadership groups, or is there like cross leaders? It's like, I run this sector of pests and also this division of telecom, or is it literally separate?
It's separate. And I'm the only person in legacy that bounces between both. So Everybody else, it's like you're in one or the other. And, I think each industry, each company in this space, there's different reasons for different people to be there, right? So, yeah, it's separate. I'm the only one. I bounce between both and flips selling, pest, and then go into telecom and alarms. But everybody else is separate.
How is that? Are the leaders on both sectors are they dialed? Like growth is like paralleling each other, or is it like one does really well and one struggles for the most part? Or because that seems
it breeds. At first it was our telecom space was dominating with the alarms when we first started with pest, and then shout out to James. I think the only way this type of business model works is if you have really competent leaders in each area. And James is he's taken the pest control division and just ran with it. So, without James, none of this would have worked. And it's both sides have unbelievable individuals, very competent. It's exciting to see, because we actually took a lot of people from the telecom space when we had some growth issues where there wasn't enough space for us to keep growing. And they jumped over into pest, and quite a transition for sure. I would have thought it was, going to be easy and quick, but it definitely wasn't. But they figured it out. They've spent the time in the trenches. They've learned how to sell pest control specifically. And for me, it's always been jumping back and forth has always been one of the hardest things I do. Coming over to pest control, going out there and selling that, and then making sure that my pitch is pest control and not alarms, not telecom, and then going back. But yeah, no, it's I think it teaches you the mechanics of sales if you've sold in more than one industry,
Yeah, totally. That seems very hard to do. So props to you guys for doing it and doing it well, managing two different industries. Have you had a scenario where like you have a rep in one industry that's like, I'm being recruited to a pest control company. You're like, well, come join and work with our pest control company, or vice versa. Does that happen often or no?
I wouldn't say it happens often, but there's definitely been talks of it for sure. But I think if you're like loyal to your people and they genuinely know that you are out there for them, like you're in the trenches for them, I think people don't leave companies, they leave leaders, right? 100%. So they might be talking about looking at other companies. And, for me, I always say we're not a prison. If you find something that's better for you, I'll talk it through with you. I'll tell you to go there if it makes more sense for you.
I love that.
And I think naturally that creates a little bit more loyalty inside our business as well, right?
I agree. It's like, hey, go explore it. Like if it's truly in your best interest, like I want what's best for you. If it's here, phenomenal. If it's not, hey, so be it. Like you're your own person. I love that because I feel like many other companies are just that. They're prisons with fake friendships. It's like, hey, you're my best friend while you're making me money. And the moment you get, your eye wanders to the right, they're like, screw you, dude. It's like, whoa. I thought it was bigger than just a sales rep manager relationship. So I love to hear that because there's very few of you guys out there in the space and I want more of them. So keep reading them. Keep reading them. I appreciate it. Let's
for sure in this space.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears to Canada a little bit. We're getting close to the date. I'm personally getting excited. You're going to be one of our leadership panelists. So what excites you most about just the event? Well, actually, have you been to D2D Con itself here in Utah? You have?
Yeah, I've been to 3 or 4 in a row. Yeah, 3, I think.
So you're very aware of how amazing they are. So what excites you most about D2D Con Canada? And then also, what are you excited about, or what excites you about being on the leadership panel as well?
Yeah, I think for D2D Con Canada, I am, number one, just really excited that finally there's a little bit more, I guess, eyeballs on the Canadian industry, because I think it's such a slept on space in Canada and there's so much more growth to happen in this space. And there's a lot of killers up here that people don't even really know about, right? And so that's the first thing. The second thing is there's a lot of internationals that in Canada that have never been able to come down to the D2D Con in the States because of visa issues, right? Sure. And it's always been tough because we tell them all the great things that we see down there, and then they can't even come because they can't get a visa in time. So having it, in Canada gives all those people the opportunity to see what we're talking about, have their visions open up and see how big this space actually is. So super excited about that. For me coming on and talking, I believe in abundance. I think there's so much value to be given and taken from in these events. So I'm just excited to maybe give, you know, a golden nugget or 2 golden nuggets that someone can take and apply into their business, into their life. I really, really enjoy impacting others. That's what drives me.
100%. I love that. And I like your answer to that question, because I feel like you guys up in Canada have a great thing going on. And I feel like if someone didn't have the abundance mindset, like you just mentioned, they may look at this additional eyeballs and exposure to their market as like a threat almost. It's like, hey, it's almost like when you have a honeypot area and other people find out about it. And then like internally you're like, damn it, you know, like that was my spot. And because with the state of what's going on with, you know, different industries in the USA with like solar, for example, like there's going to be a lot of people over the course of the next, you know, 12 to 24 months looking for a big change, looking to go to an area or a market or location or with a product or company, whatever it is, to thrive. And the eyeballs and the exposure of Canada is opening up down here to where it's like, oh, wow, like, people are doing some really big things up there. Like there's a lot of area up there. Like, could we move up north? You know what I mean? So to have that abundance mindset is speaks to your character versus just like, hey, stay where you're at. Like this is ours. You know what I mean? So yeah. I agree. It is cool. It is cool to get you guys the exposure you guys all deserve.
Yeah. And I feel like I have heard some of that, you know, some of the, oh, we don't want to bring all the guys out there because there's other companies that might, you know, snipe them, things like that. And I love competition, you know, coming from sports. Mm-hmm. I want more companies to come up here and do this. I want to compete. I think that's one of my core drivers is, you know, having another company that we're competing with and just driving against each other.
Yeah. I mean, it boosts both parties, right? If you guys are both competitive, seeing one coming up and doing well, it's like, hey, we got to pull up our boots and get going again. You know, it's competition is a beautiful thing. It's as long as it's looked at correctly.
Exactly.
Totally. I love that. One thing for you as well, like you're going to be obviously speaking on leadership, which again, based off this podcast alone, any listeners who are going to be attending on the fence of attending, you should definitely come just to attend Jason's workshop alone. He sounds like a great leader. When you're asked about leadership, or like if you can like foresee like being on the panel, obviously it's going to be question based. You'll have some topics, but what's like if you boil leadership down to a couple different things, what's like something about leadership that you love talking about, teaching, or just sharing with other people?
Well, the thing about leadership is, you know, if you look at it as a skill set to develop, it's by far the highest paid skill set in the world. So I think everybody should learn how to lead different personality types, how to lead different people if they want to start their own businesses in the future. If I was going to pinpoint, I think the first start of leadership is you need to learn how to lead yourself. You need to know yourself in and out. So, you know, go do a personality test, figure out what drives you, where your weaknesses are and where you can improve. And if you don't know yourself, you're not going to be able to lead others. But I think something that's kept me in leadership and something that I love about it is I always tell people when they start moving into leadership roles is, guys, it's a race. Okay. And what it is if you have to become a person that people want to follow. So it's a never ending race where you have to keep educating yourself and keep getting better. If your people can supersede you with that, they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else because you can't provide value to them. So it's addicting to continuously improve because you have to. If you stop, people are going to surpass you. And then what's the purpose of them following you? You know, they've gotten everything they need from you. And that's okay, but that's on you, you know, as a leader.
Totally. What a cool space. Like door to door is such a perfect ground to implement so many life principles outside of just salesmanship. It's just human growth, progression, leadership, like becoming the best version of yourself, analyzing your life, your deficiencies, making improvements, and you do all of those things well. It just amplifies and it translates so beautifully to our career. And it's really cool. I just don't feel like there's a ton of careers where that's the case, you know, where you go out and it's like, hey, my income is dependent upon, for the most part, my ability to grow and become a better person for me and for my people. And as long as I'm continually doing that, not only will my life and my income level and my career just be on this amazing trajectory, but so will the people that follow me. It's a really cool thing that I feel like, myself included, just kind of lose sight of. It's just like, people often say, we hear all the time that this career is just like personal development with the compensation plan attached to it. And it really is. It's like continually get better, and everything else in the career element will elevate as well. That's super cool.
I always say to our people as well is, guys, I'm so excited to fast forward a decade from now, and see what all of you guys are doing because of the time you spent in this space. I think a lot of us get blinded by the money, and we're so focused on how much money we're earning this year, next year.
Totally.
But, fast forward a decade, and I think a lot of people that spend the time in the trenches in this space and grow, they're going to be doing big things, even if it's not in this space anymore.
100%. Last question for you before we wrap up, Jason. It's been great. If people are scrolling Instagram and they see a promo video with you on it talking about D2D Canada, what would that video look like? What would you be telling people who are on the fence about the event, why they should come to D2DCon Canada?
If you are not coming to D2DCon and you're in the door-to-door space, you're cheating yourself, because I think you need to invest in yourself if you want to grow. And for the price of a ticket, you get to rub shoulders with, the top individuals that do this in this space in Canada. And naturally, even if you aren't coming there to learn, you're going to have your vision opened up. And even if you're not in the door-to-door space, I think if you're in sales in general or thinking of getting into it, for the price of a ticket, the amount of value you will take away in a 2-day period is 10x, 100x of what that ticket costs. So I think you're crazy if you're not coming to this event, in my opinion. If it's anything like the ones in the States that I've been to, it's essential to come to.
It's essential. Completely agree. I remember when Sam was starting this thing off, just D2DCons, and I remember I wasn't a naysayer. I've always was like, oh, that's cool, but I just didn't look at it as this mainstream event that was essential, as you just said. I just thought it was a cool little thing he's doing, and to watch it grow over the years and how literally everyone in our space goes, and the just the elite figures that come as guests and speak and do workshops, etc. Compared to the ticket price, I think it is so essential. And it's just to me, it's like a benchmark thing annually. Obviously, with the golden doors and the maple doors that we're doing in Canada, it's such a annual benchmark of a check-in on how you're doing throughout the year. Obviously, you have the fiscal year, we have our own little things within our organizations, but it's just a good benchmark as a sales rep, as a leader, as an owner, to just check in, refresh, rub shoulders, network, get a feel for the industry as a whole, and then go throughout your year. So I couldn't agree more. And I'm really excited. I'll probably be there at your leadership panel. So I'm excited for that. I don't know who the other leaders are on the panel, but I'll find out. But Jason, I appreciate your time, man. It's been a great podcast. And for those of you listening and really vibed with Jason, what he had to say, where can they find you, Jason? Where can they connect with you online?
You can add me on Instagram. It's just my first name _ last name. And hit me up, DM me. I'm an open book. If you guys need help with anything you're doing in your careers and your business, just, shoot me a message, and I'll help you however I can. So no, it was a pleasure. I appreciate it, Hunter.
Absolutely. If you guys like this podcast, again, we do these weekly, multiple times a week. So like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, your takeaways, and follow along. And Jason, have a good time up there in Canada. We'll see you next month.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jason. See ya.